Welcome back to the deep dive. You know, it's funny, when we sit down to talk about engines, it, it, it usually feels like we're discussing history.
Like ancient history, right?
Yeah, like steam locomotives or telegraph machines.
Yeah.
The whole narrative for the last, 10 years has been pretty clear. Electric is the future.
And combustion is the dinosaur.
Exactly. And the asteroid is already here.
That is definitely the prevailing wisdom. We sort of think of the internal combustion engine as a finished technology.
Right. It's done.
Like, we figured it out, it had its peak, and now we're just, waiting for it to go away.
But today we have a stack of research in front of us that suggests the dinosaur isn't just alive. It's evolving into something completely different. We're looking at a breakdown of the BYD DMI 5.0 powertrain. And the headline claim here is, well, it's honestly hard to wrap your head around.
It is.
They are claiming a certified thermal efficiency of 46.06%.
It just sounds like a dry statistic, doesn't it? Thermal efficiency.
Yeah.
But in the world of thermodynamics, hitting 46% it's like defying gravity.
Right. And I want to pause on that number because I don't think most people, and I'll include myself in this, really get just how bad normal engines actually are.
Oh, they're terrible.
And I was looking at the notes on this rule of thirds for traditional engines, and it's kind of depressing.
It is a bit tragic, yeah. I mean, since Nicholas Otto invented the thing back in 1876, engineers have been fighting this losing war against physics. And the rule of thirds basically says that for every $1 of gas you put in your car, you're just throwing 70 cents away.
70 cents. That much.
Roughly. About a third of that energy goes straight out the tailpipe, just hot air.
Okay.
Another third gets soaked up by the engine block and the radiator, just to stop the metal from melting into a puddle.
So all those fans and coolant lines are really just there to manage waste.
Purely waste management.
Right.
And then only that last third, that final third, is what actually pushes the piston down and moves your car.
So for 100 years, we've been driving machines that are, 30% efficient?
Give or take.
Yeah. Wow. That really puts this BYD number in perspective. I mean, Toyota spent decades on the Prius trying to fix this, right?
They did. They were on a crusade.
They optimized everything, and they clawed their way up to 41%. And the industry basically said, okay, that's it. That's the physical ceiling.
You can't go higher. It's commercially impossible.
And yet here we are looking at an engine that hit 46.06%.
And the result isn't just a number on a spreadsheet. The source material claims this efficiency gives you a real-world range of 2,100 kilometers.
Which is about 1,300 miles. That's New York to Miami.
On a single tank, without stopping.
So the mission for this deep dive is to figure out how. We're not looking at the leather seats.
No.
We're going to dig into the physics, specifically 7 key engineering breakthroughs that let them smash right through that ceiling.
And it all starts with what is probably the most dangerous number in engine design.
Which is?
16:1.
Okay, so this is the compression ratio. Now, from what I've read, when you see a compression ratio that high, you're usually looking at a diesel engine.
A diesel? Or maybe a very high-end experimental setup. I mean, a Formula One car runs around 13 or 14:1.
And like a Ferrari 458 is maybe 12.5.
Right. And compression is king in thermodynamics. It's a simple relationship. The more you squeeze the air and fuel before you light it, the more energy you get out.
But there's a very good reason we don't all drive cars with 16:1 compression.
Yeah. It tends to blow up.
It blows up.
It's a phenomenon called knock, or auto-ignition. If you take standard 92-octane gas, the stuff from any pump, and you squeeze it that hard, the pressure itself creates so much heat that the fuel just explodes spontaneously before the spark plug even gets a chance to fire.
So the piston is still moving up, trying to do its job, and suddenly, boom, the explosion happens early.
Exactly. It's like taking a sledgehammer and hitting the top of the piston while it's still rising.
Ouch.
It destroys engines instantly. Rods bend, pistons crack. It's catastrophic.
Okay, so BYD decides to run 16:1 on a streetcar using cheap gas. Logic says this engine should tear itself apart in 5 minutes. How are they preventing that?
This is where they had to get really, really creative. They used something called a radical Miller cycle.
I looked this up, and it seems completely backward. In a normal engine, the piston goes down, it sucks in air, the intake valve closes at the bottom, and then the piston comes up to squeeze.
Simple 4-stroke cycle. Correct.
But with this Miller cycle, the notes say the intake valve just refuses to close on time. The piston starts coming back up, and the door is still wide open.
This ain't no game of kiss and tell. The implications how
You are. That is exactly what's happening. Physically projecting the right back into the engine.
That sounds like a definition of efficient. You're throwing away the very air you need to make power. Why would you do that?
Stop the bombing from going on. Think about it. By pushing some of that air back out, you're lowering the effective compression ratio.
Ah,
You're squeezing less stuff, so the pressure and the heat don't get high enough to cause that catastrophic knock.
okay, that makes sense. You're basically tricking the engine into thinking it's smaller during the compression stroke so it doesn't explode. But
Yeah.
if you're squeezing less air,
Yeah.
don't you get a really weak explosion?
You get a smaller explosion, sure. But here's the genius part of it. The compression stroke is effectively shortened, but the expansion stroke, that's when the explosion pushes the piston down.
Yeah.
That remains the full, super long length of that 16-to-1 ratio.
Oh, okay, I think I see. So you squeeze just a little bit of air, but you give that little explosion a massive long runway to push down on.
Precisely. In a normal car, when the piston hits the very bottom of its travel, the exhaust valve opens and there's still a ton of pressure in there. That pop you hear from an exhaust,
Yeah.
that's wasted energy escaping. In this BYD engine, because the stroke is so long, the gas expands and expands until it's almost at atmospheric pressure. They squeeze every last joule of energy out of it.
That is unbelievably clever. You cheat the physics of knock to get all the benefit of that long expansion. But I have to play devil's advocate. If you're throwing air out and the mixture is less dense, you've got a flimsy mixture. Doesn't that burn really slowly?
It does. That's the consequence.
Right.
A low-density mix burns lazily. And a lazy burn is bad because all that heat has time to just soak into the metal.
You know, the cylinder walls.
You want a flash fire. You want all the energy released instantly to push the piston, not to just heat up your engine block.
And this leads to the second big breakthrough. The notes call it tumble.
Tumble.
Now, usually when I think high performance, I picture everything being polished.
Yeah.
Smooth ports, you want the air to just glide right in.
Right. Laminar flow.
But BYD did the opposite.
They did the complete opposite. They deliberately designed a sharp, ugly angle right in the intake port. They basically put a tripping hazard in the doorway for the air.
So the air literally trips as it comes into the cylinder.
It trips and it starts to spin violently. The goal is to create a vertical vortex, like a tornado inside the combustion chamber.
A tornado. And what does that tornado do for the burn?
It mixes the fuel and the oxygen at a microscopic level. It creates a perfectly homogeneous mixture. So when that spark plug fires, the flame doesn't just sort of crawl across the room.
The whole room just ignites.
The entire room catches fire at once, an instant bang of force, not a slow whoosh of heat.
Okay, but even with a fast burn, we're still talking 16-to-1 compression. The temperatures in there must be insane.
Near the melting point of aluminum, yes.
Which brings us to my absolute favorite term in this entire research stack.
Oh, I know which one you mean.
The smoke fridge.
The smoke fridge. It's such a great name for what is actually a very complex system. Technically, it's high-volume cooled EGR.
So explain this. EGR is exhaust gas recirculation. Usually that's just an emissions thing, right? You put a little bit of exhaust back in to burn off some junk.
In a normal car, yeah, it's basically a cleanup crew. But here, BYD is using it as a thermal management tool, a huge one. They take a massive amount of exhaust It is taking up space, and that's the whole axis of it. When the fuel explodes, that inert gas is just sitting there, absorbing emissions. It lets them run race car compression without race car temperatures.
So we've got the Miller cycle to dodge the pressure, a tornado to fix the burn speed, and a smoke fridge to keep the pistons from turning into goo.
That handles the explosion. That gets you the energy.
But generating the energy is only half the battle, right?
Yeah.
You have to keep it. And most engines are covered in, what do the engineers call them? Parasites.
Parasites, yeah.
I love this concept of engineering by subtraction. When you look at a diagram of a normal engine, it's just a mess.
Yeah.
You've got belts, pulleys, an alternator, power steering.
An AC compressor, all of them just leaching power. A standard engine loses 5 to 10 horsepower just spinning its own accessories.
And the DMI 5.0 is the first mass-produced engine to have no feed, no front-end accessory drive,
no belts at all.
zero belts.
Zero. If you look at the front of the engine block, it's just smooth.
Okay, so let's trace this. No belt, no alternator. How do they charge the battery?
The main electric traction motor handles all the charging. Alternator's gone.
What about the starter motor to turn the engine on?
Gone. The generator motor does that.
And the AC compressor? The water pump? Those are essential.
All high voltage electric. And this is crucial because they're electric, they're smart.
What do you mean?
Well, take the water pump in your old car. It's on a belt. If you rev the engine at a stoplight, the water pump spins like crazy.
Right.
Do you need more cooling when you're stopped? No, you're just wasting energy.
Because it's mechanically chained to the engine speed.
Exactly. In this system, the water pump is PWM controlled, pulse width modulation.
I saw that. That basically means the computer tells it exactly how fast to spin, right? Independent of what the engine is doing.
Correct. If the engine is cooled, the pump just stops. Zero drag. It only uses energy when it absolutely has to.
It's like every single component was audited. If it's not strictly necessary for moving the car forward right now, it gets cut.
It's a ruthless efficiency. And that extends to the oil, too. This is where we get into tribology, the science of friction.
This part confused me a little. The notes talk about a split cooling system. Usually an engine just has one thermostat, but BYD is keeping different parts at different temperatures.
Yes, this is fascinating stuff. They keep the cylinder head, the top part where the explosions happen, relatively cool, about 80 degrees Celsius.
Okay, a cool head keeps the explosion under control. Makes sense.
But, and this is the clever bit, they keep the cylinder block, the bottom part where the pistons slide, much hotter, around 105 degrees.
Why would you want the block to be hotter?
The oil! They use this ultra-thin 0W20 oil. Now think about honey. When it's cold, it's thick and sticky.
And when it's hot, it runs like water.
Exactly. By forcing the block to stay hot, the oil stays in that super thin water-like state. The pistons can slide up and down with almost zero resistance. If the block was cooler, that oil would thicken just enough to steal a percentage point of efficiency.
That is just obsessive.
It is. And they pair that with a plasma coating on the cylinder walls. No heavy cast iron liners, just a microscopic spray of mirror-smooth metal to cut friction even more.
Okay, so we've built the perfect engine. It squeezes hard, burns fast, stays cool where it needs to, hot where it needs to, and has no belts. But now we get to the part that I think is the biggest paradigm shift of all. How does this power actually get to the wheels?
This is where BYD just breaks with tradition completely. You look at Toyota, they use that brilliant but complex planetary gear system, the ECVT.
Right, lots of gears meshing, some friction.
Volkswagen uses those heavy dual-clutch transmissions.
And BYD just asked, why do we even need a transmission?
And the answer they came up with is, for the most part, you don't. Not for 90% of your driving anyway.
This is the EHS system. And just to be clear, for everyone listening in,
This ain't no game of kiss and tell. The implications are
and accelerating hard on the highway. Gas
So what is the
looking for the somehow.
acting as a power station. It finds absolute efficiency sweet spot that electricity either charges the battery or goes directly to the massive 160 kilowatt electric motor that's actually turning the wheels.
That has to change the whole feeling of the car. Because normally I press the gas, I expect to hear the engine rev up.
Not here. You press the pedal, you get the instant, silent torque of an electric car. The engine might turn on in the background to top up the battery, but it doesn't care what your foot is doing.
It's not a servant to your right foot anymore.
It's a servant to the battery. That's a perfect way to put it.
But there is an exception. The notes mentioned a highway clutch.
Yes, because electric motors have a weakness. They aren't very efficient at sustained high speeds. Above, say, 70 kilometers per hour, about 45 mile per hour, an EV motor starts sucking down a lot of power.
So what happens when you hit that speed?
A single hydraulic wet clutch engages. It locks up, and it physically connects the gas engine directly to the wheels in a single 1-to-1 gear ratio.
No gears, no losses.
Think of it like a bicycle with only one gear, but that one gear is perfectly sized for highway cruising. The engine takes over directly because, at that specific speed, it's actually more efficient than the electric motor.
So it's an EV in town and a direct drive gas car on the highway.
The best of both worlds. And by ditching the transmission, they saved weight, space, and a ton of friction.
Speaking of saving weight, we have to talk about the battery. Not the big one, the little annoying one, the 12-volt.
Oh, the lead-acid brick.
I think everyone listening has that specific trauma. You come back from vacation, you go to your car, in the airport parking lot, you turn the key, and you just hear that. Click, click, click.
It's a universal, terrible experience. We've been using lead-acid batteries since the 1800s. They're heavy, they're toxic, and they die if you look at them wrong.
And BYD just got rid of it.
Gone!
So what's in there instead?
A tiny 2-kilogram lithium iron phosphate battery. Same chemistry as the main pack. It's designed to last the life of the car. But here is the airport feature you were getting at.
The feature that cures starter battery anxiety.
The car is smart. If you leave it parked for 2 months and the small 12-volt battery's voltage drops too low, the main traction battery wakes itself up. It internally sends a bit of power to the small battery, recharges it, and then goes back to sleep.
So you can literally never be stranded by a dead starter battery.
Practically never. As long as there's any charge in the main pack, the 12-volt will never die on you.
That is such a simple quality of life improvement, but it shows they're rethinking the whole system, not just the engine.
Yeah.
But there's one more thing about batteries. They hate the cold. We all know EVs lose range in the winter.
They do. And traditionally, you solve this with a heater. You put an electric heater outside the battery to warm it up, but that's slow. It's inefficient.
It's like trying to warm up your dinner by just heating the air in your kitchen.
Great analogy. So what BYD does is called pulse heating.
Okay?
This is wild. They vibrate high-frequency electric currents inside the battery cells themselves.
Inside the actual chemistry.
Yes.
Yeah.
Imagine it like a microwave for electrons. It excites the ions inside the battery, which causes them to generate their own heat from the inside out. The source claims this keeps the battery at optimal efficiency even at -20 Celsius.
So let's zoom out and look at the whole picture here.
Okay.
We have a Miller cycle engine that cheats compression. We've got a tornado intake and a smoke fridge managing the fire. We've stripped off every single belt. We've turned the engine into a generator for the city.
And a direct drive cruiser for the highway.
And the result is a machine that really redefined what a hybrid even is. It's not a gas car with some electric assist.
Not at all. It's an electric car that just happens to carry its own hyper-efficient power plant on its back.
It feels like a fundamental shift in philosophy. For 100 years, the internal combustion engine was the master. It was the star of the show. It roared, it vibrated, it was the whole personality of the car.
And now, it has been demoted, it's a servant, it operates in the background, totally silent, completely invisible, optimized for one single thing.
Mathematical perfection.
It doesn't care about your emotions. It only cares about thermal efficiency.
The engine's final, greatest act is to become invisible.
Precisely. That limit of 41% efficiency wasn't a limit of physics. It was a limit of imagination. It required throwing away the transmission and the belts to find the room to actually grow.
Which leaves us with a provocative thought to end on. If BYD has managed to get 2,100 kilometers of range by reimagining the engine as this humble, boring generator, what does this mean for the future of performance cars? Is the era of the emotional, roaring engine finally dead, replaced by the era of the mathematically perfect power station? And crucially, if this is the new standard, can Toyota, the grandfather of hybrids, even catch up?
That is the multi-billion-dollar question, isn't it?
We'll let you chew on that. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the physics of the future. We'll catch you on the next one.